Is your wildlife photography vertically challenged? Let's find out. Whoa! Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. In this video I want to talk to you about verticals or portrait orientation. So here's a question for you. What percentage of the images that you shoot do you shoot vertically? You could pause this video and go and check the images from your most recent shoot and find out. I'll just wait right here. La-di-da-di-da. Okay, right, so did you check? Well, I can tell you that I checked and I always shoot at least 10 to 15% vertically. Sometimes as much as 35%, and on average about 25%. And I often do see a lot of photographers who I feel are not shooting vertically enough, and sometimes I'll actually see an opportunity that I'm shooting next to someone else and it screams out to be shot vertically, and I see people not doing it. And I also see some photographers who never shoot vertically, and I think that's a huge missed opportunity sometimes. When you think about it, it's natural that we would shoot horizontally more than vertically. Our cameras are easier to use, more comfortable to use in a horizontal format. And we're just used to seeing a lot of media in a horizontal format. Our computer screens are horizontal, and we watch movies typically in a horizontal format. But when you think about it, there are some really obvious opportunities, such as magazine covers are typically vertical. Also, when you think about prints, there are opportunities where there are narrow wall spaces where a vertical print will work better than a horizontal print. And if you're just looking for a way to change things up, going vertical is an easy thing to do. Now, I'm not suggesting that you just go out and start shooting vertically randomly. It has to make sense, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. What are the opportunities to shoot vertically? When would it actually make the image better? The other thing is that if you're not sure, sometimes just give it a try. Shoot horizontally a bit, then go and shoot vertical, and then come back to horizontal. And don't forget that there is the opportunity, if you miss it at the time of shooting a vertical opportunity, you could, if you have enough pixels in the image, you could try to change the orientation later on when you're editing. But there are times when going vertically will actually allow you to compose differently, and that's one of the things that we want to talk about. So let's get started. Shooting vertically can be a lifesaver when you're shooting horizontally and an animal starts to come closer, and you're in danger of cropping the animal unnaturally. And if you move to vertical, you may be able to keep shooting without cropping the animal. This can work well if an animal is moving directly towards you, as the vertical orientation reinforces the direction of that movement, and it works just as well if an animal is moving directly away from you. You just need to be careful. When you have an animal that is looking straight at you like this, it's okay, but when the animal starts to turn its head to the left or the right, you need to be ready to ensure that you have enough space within the composition for the animal to be able to see within the frame. In this case, I had to shift over just a little bit just to give it a bit more space. It's not just animals that you would want to avoid cropping that might cause you to turn to a vertical orientation. There may be other elements in a scene that you also want to get into a frame, such as this palm tree that I wanted to show with the elephant. And then in this photo, you'll see a mountain. This is Mount Kilimanjaro. And the only way to get this and the elephant was to go vertical. And here are some photos of a lioness and some other lions as well that were looking at zebras. And in fact, this baby zebra here was one that they hunted and killed later that evening. And I really wanted to show their perspective, what they were looking at as part of the story. And I needed to capture both the zebras and the lions as well. Another thing that you may want to include in your compositions that will require you to go vertical in order to get enough space is reflections. Generally with a reflection, it's going to require twice as much vertical space because you have the animal as well as the reflection. And in some cases, it's not possible to contain the whole thing. You may have to crop part of the reflection. Obviously, that's better than cropping part of the animal, but where you can get the whole scene with the animal or the animals and the full reflection, it can look fantastic. Whenever the shape of an animal is taller than it is wider, there's an opportunity to go vertical. You just have to be careful, as I mentioned before. If the eyes are facing forward, that's great. But if the eyes are looking somewhere else, you really want to make sure that you allow space for that in your composition. In this channel, I talk a lot about the importance of being able to improvise and to react quickly. In this kind of a situation, I was following this bear as it walked along, and I was giving it plenty of space in my compositions to walk and look towards the right. And I was in a horizontal orientation, but as soon as the bear was facing me, I immediately went vertical, and then when it started to walk along again, I went back to a horizontal orientation. Often when you go vertical, it will create a tighter framing, but this can actually be useful in helping to create a greater sense of intimacy. You just have to remember to try to get down low so that you can get that perspective where you can really bring the viewer into the world of the animal. And finally, let's talk about using the vertical format to get a greater sense of depth in your images. I previously made a video called 5 ways to use depth to make your wildlife photography better. In that video, I talked about trying to capture the foreground, midground, and background layers. And here's the thing, when you go vertical, you have a lot more room with which to play with to capture all of those elements. As you'll see in a lot of these images, the subject is in the middle, and that gives you plenty of space to capture even vast distances in the foreground as well as in the background. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. How are you doing on the vertical front? Do you think that you shoot enough vertically? If not, what do you think is holding you back? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.